Hey, this is Jill Ciminillo with Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, and I am in Northern California driving the Hummer EV SUV. And in this video, I'm just going to tell you 5 good things and 5 bad things because I've already driven the pickup truck and I have a full review on that. So let's take a closer look right now. All right, let's start with the 5 good things on the Hummer EV SUV. And you know what? I'm going to start right here with the wireless charger. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I hate it when you have a wireless charger that overheats your phone. And General Motors actually does a really good job with their wireless charger. It does not overheat your phone, and it actually works and keeps your phone charged. So I like this. They've done a good job with it. And you couple that with the fact that you also have wireless Apple CarPlay, and I like how that all works together. So you can have a completely cordless environment, and that definitely gets a thumbs up. So while we're on this screen, I'm going to point out that I really like the graphic situation that you've got going on here. I like this kind of pen and ink sketch that you've got, and you can see it carried through into the display gauges. And when you go through your different modes, your different drive modes, you have these amazing graphics that pop up in terms of when you are changing your modes, and like, okay, yeah, you're driving on Mars right there. That's kind of cool. So they've done a great job really with the packaging of the graphics and just the way this all comes together and it looks with the different things that you've got going on there. And then, you know, when your drive mode is done, it goes back to the screen. So while we're on the screen, the other thing I'm going to point out is you have some amazing camera angles. I think they said you have up to 17 different camera angles available, and that includes, you know, your side view, your around view, and then you can kind of just page through front, back, and just all around the vehicle so you can see what you are looking at. If you are going to be trailering, you've got some options. You know, there's your around view there. You can like look down if you needed to actually hook up to your trailer. And then it looks like, let's see if we go over here. I don't know if this one has it, but in some of the models, you can actually see underneath the vehicle. I think probably you need the off-road package for that, and this is the on-road model. But one of the options under here, you can select, it'll show you what is underneath. And so if you're off-road and you want to make sure you're not going to put your tire on a rock, really helpful. And what's really cool about that is if it gets muddy, it actually has a camera that you can use to wash the underside cameras. So they can't, and plus these are just really clear, and it just, they've done a great job. I mean, look at that. You can see the cracks in the pavement, for Pete's sake. So love the cameras. That's super helpful in an environment like Chicago, where you really depend on your cameras in a tight space. Now, generally, I want to point out just the packaging of this vehicle is really cool. And so as you look around, you're going to be able to see all of these little Easter eggs. You see the little Hummer right there. And if you open the doors here, you can see this is a topographical map of the moon. And look at that. You've got a little moon boot here. If you look at the, okay, sorry for the beeping. I'm going to shut that really quick. If you look on the floor mats, you've got topographical maps. Let's see if we can bring it around to the back so you can see the topographical maps or the imaging on the floor mats in the back. And so they've just really done a great job packaging everything together and giving you some great textures, some great feel. I really like the materials on the seats and the armrests. It's not, you know, it's not leather, it's not an upscale material, but it somehow ends up feeling upscale. And you do have leather on the steering wheel in addition to the the stitching here. So it just works really well. So the final thing that I really want to point out that I like on this vehicle is going to be the fact that you have a frunk. So you do have a frunk button right here. I'm going to press that and you can see it starting to rise out of the front of the vehicle. This is not a hood release. It is actually your frunk opening. And when you come around, you can see you have a nice big space here, again, with some good packaging and details. And what's really cool about this frunk is, okay, yeah, it is Jill sized. I can fit in here. But the other thing is the sky panel roofs, the little glass panels that you have on the roof, you can take those out, you can put it in this little case, and they fit in here really well. So I love this space. I think it looks great. I think it works really well. Now, unlike the Ford, I'm like kind of moving things around because I haven't really looked at this. So unlike the Ford Lightning, you do not have a drain, so you can't really tailgate in here, but this is some really nice stowage. And I will also point out, you do have the trunk release, or as I like to call it, the get Jill out of the frunk button. So, all right, that is what I like about the Hummer EV. Now let's talk about some of the bad things. Other than the $100K price tag of the Hummer EV SUV, I'll be honest with you, I really struggled to find something I didn't like about this vehicle. But if I had to point to something, you know what? Let's start right here. While I really like these graphics, the pen and ink graphics, I don't like how it interacts with Apple CarPlay. This is very inconsistent and incongruent with the rest of this. Now, I think if Apple CarPlay could take up this full screen, it would be a little less weird and I'd like it a little bit better. But because it's surrounded by these kind of old-timey graphics, it just, I don't know, this just doesn't work for me. And I don't really like it. Now, the other thing that I think is a little bit weird on this vehicle is you have 3 different ways to activate a more regenerative braking situation. So you can drive this like a normal vehicle and it'll kind of coast along and you use your brake and all of that. But if you want a more like distinct one pedal feel, this does have complete one pedal driving. There's 3 ways that you can do that, and I think it's weird. So the one thing is, this right here actually acts as a handbrake. So as you're driving, if you're just regularly coasting, you can hit this and hold it, and without putting your foot on the brake, this will start bringing the vehicle to a stop and slow it down, but you have to keep your hand on here. The other thing that you can do is you can pop this into L, and that will give you a more one pedal feel, but again, won't bring you all the way to a stop, but will give you more active regeneration. But if you want actual one pedal driving, you have to come into here, go into your settings, then you can select your one pedal driving here, and it gives you the option of having it off, having it on, or having it on high, and having it on high will take you all the way to a stop. Now, there's more. But wait, there's more. When you have this on, if you want even more aggressive regeneration, you can put this into the L, the low gear, the low range, and you can hit this. And I don't know, it all seemed to work weird. It was just a little bit weird, a little bit confusing, and I just, you know what, just give me the on or off. I will say the one good thing about this is once you select this and you select it on high, it will maintain that once you cycle off the vehicle and cycle it back on, so you can turn the vehicle on and off, and it will remember that you have selected that you'd like the high one pedal driving. So that's good, but just this is all a little bit confusing to me, and I would need time to understand how it all works together. I played around with it a little bit, and yeah, I don't really understand the differences. Just put it on high and leave it if you want the one pedal driving. Now, the third thing that I would say that I don't like about the Hummer EV SUV is even though you have some really cool technology, there are some things that are kind of missing. So first off, this is not terribly configurable. What you see is kind of what you can get. You can change what appears here, you can change what appears here, you can change a little bit what appears here, but for the most part, the way this looks is the way it looks. So you can't get a map back here. Yeah, this is it. Also, there is no head-up display and there is not one available. And I think that is also just a little bit weird on a vehicle, again, that costs $100,000. Plus, when you get into the back seat, you do have heated seats and climate controls. Yay! You absolutely should have that in a vehicle that costs more than $100,000. But what you don't have is ventilated seats. And speaking of seats, the other thing that you don't have is massaging seats. Again, I know this is more utilitarian, but this is on the luxury side. I think you should have massaging seats for this vehicle. Now, another thing that I don't like is this right here. As a petite driver, this is a huge swirling vortex of a blind spot, and I found myself often kind of going like this to see around what was going on here. I love the hand grip when I'm getting in and out of the vehicle, but this is just, it's a very big blocky blind spot that you just have to be aware of. Now, I will say the one good thing that they've done is they've created a space between the side mirror and this A-pillar so that you can actually see somebody if they're walking into a crosswalk. But when you're rounding corners, you're just definitely going to have to pay attention here to the fact that, yeah, this is a blind spot, and it's a big one. Now, the final thing that I don't like about this vehicle is the amount of tire noise you are going to get that creeps into the cabin with any wheels. Now, these are the Edition 1 20-inch wheels, and they are on-road, and these are okay. You can still hear the tire noise creeping into the cabin, but for the most part, it's pretty silent. You turn on the radio, and it won't be that bad. But if you opt for the big, bulky off-road package tires, 18-inch wheels, yeah, it's a constant whine that you're not going to outdo. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in my driving impressions coming up now. All right, before I wrap up this review, what I want to do is just some quick driving impressions. And I do have to say, because of the sheer size of this vehicle, it does take some getting used to. It is wide, it is big, and you sit really tall. And we started out in San Francisco City, and then we hit the highway, and I will say that I did have a little bit of not problems, but I was just a little bit wary of maneuvering in San Francisco. But the more I've driven it, the more I've gotten used to it, the more I'm getting used to the size proportions, the easier it is to drive. And that's really interesting because, again, it's huge, but it drives really small, and it's fairly nimble, and it's fairly easy to maneuver in the tighter situations. I had fun in a parking lot playing around with crab walk as I was trying to exit my parking space, and so that was really cool. I could totally see a use case for it. It's not just a gimmick, although it's a little bit of a gimmick. But in Chicago, when you have those really tight turnarounds in my alley in the city, yeah, I could see the four-wheel steer, the crab walk coming into play to help you have a better turning radius and to get in and out of those tight situations. On the highway, which is where we are at right now, I will say this is very comfortable. It's very smooth and it's pretty quiet. Now, the vehicle that we have right now is it's an Edition 1, and it has the on-road package. So I've got on-road tires, and you do hear a little bit of tire noise creeping into the cabin, but it is not excessive. Yesterday, when we were driving out to Napa, we had an off-road package vehicle, and I kept thinking, am I hearing somebody else's tires? But no, they were ours. So I will say, be aware, if you are getting the off-road package, you're going to have a lot of tire noise creeping into the cabin because you don't have an engine that covers up that sound. I guess you could play the radio. Yeah, you could do that. But if I had to sum this up, how would I sum this up in terms of driving impressions? It takes some getting used to, but at the end of the day, it is a fairly nimble, maneuverable vehicle for its size. It's comfortable. I wish wish maybe there were some massaging seats. We've been in the driver's seat for quite a bit yesterday and today, but overall, I really don't have any complaints other than those 5 bad things I mentioned earlier. So that's it. That's what I have for you in the GMC Hummer EV SUV. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check us out on the web at pickuptrucktalk.com, where I will have more information about this vehicle, and I will see you down the road.